Hello, so today's going to be a little bit of a VOD review. Basically going to go over one of the games that I played. This is going to be a VEX reroll game. This is a comp that I think is going to be pretty strong. I'm kind of trying out different stuff on the patch, you know, getting frustrated, trying to figure out exactly what's good, how to play the patch, all of that stuff. One thing that I do remember seeing a lot of was VEX reroll in scrims. There's a couple enabler type augments for it, and I'm not sure how strong it is, but I look at my opener, I have some AP items. We look for a nice augment, picking on 2-1. So the first thing I see is no scout, no pivot. This is one of those really strong things with VEX reroll that I saw when I was watching Challenger scrims for Macau, like the Macau tournament that's happening, like the TFT Open. I think by the time I upload this video, I think Macau probably will be starting. So if you're into competitive TFT and you want to watch some Challenger players duke it out for some money, you can go check that out as well. But basically, I saw them playing this a lot in scrims because VEX 3 got buffed, and I felt like it was pretty strong. I started the game off, I have a lot of copies of Irelia. I also have a couple copies of VEX. So I take no scout, no pivot here because no scout, no pivot basically is one of the things that I saw that really made this comp come alive and become very strong. So in order to, like, I'll go through now exactly what the comp is and how it kind of works out. But of course, make sure to like and subscribe if you do like my content. I know that I usually post guides. If you're a fan of the guides, don't worry, there's more guides to come. I'm going to try and do them every other day, making some sort of TFT guide. But in between that, I also do VOD reviews as like supplementary material. I think VOD reviews are the best way to learn TFT. Back when I was starting to learn how to play the game, stuff like somebody going over their entire game, saying what they did every step along the way was a lot more beneficial than just like, you know, chilling and not doing... chilling and just like watching like for fun content, if that makes sense. Anyways, this is roughly what the board looks like. So this is a board that basically completes itself on level 7, but typically what you're doing is you're re-rolling around VEX 3-star, Irelia 3-star, Singe 3-star, and eventually Renata 3-star. These are like your main units. Rel is also really good to 3-star, but if you can, you just 3-star everybody, right? This is a comp where you just roll for everybody, and if you have enough items to support them all, you're totally fine. If you hit Rel 3-star, that becomes your main tank. If you hit Singe 3-star, that becomes your main tank. But a lot of times, you treat it more like a one-cost reroll, just because it gives you a lot of tempo early on. Now, you might ask yourself, okay, so well, why does it matter? Like, who do I play? Like, why am I playing this comp as opposed to another comp? As you may have seen, I've been trying out Renata reroll a lot. I'm sure Renata is really strong right now, and I'm trying different variations of it, of ideas that I had based on all the buffs that she got, because she got a lot of buffs. A lot of times you can look at this comp and you can treat it kind of like a Renata reroll as well. It's a similar structure. Renata reroll, I think you want to lean more heavily into the Sentinel side than the Visionary side, but I find that this is very efficient because VEX is so strong early game. If you don't know VEX as a unit, like just logistically, whenever you're considering a reroll or whenever you're looking at a comp and trying to figure out if it's strong or not, the first thing you should always consider is how good are the units when they're not upgraded. VEX right now, right, even before they, right now, like, she got buffed, right? VEX also got buffed, but she only got buffed as a 3-star unit. Before, in the past, if you had a VEX 1, she did a shit ton of damage on stage 2. If you had a VEX 2, you were probably streaking or winning a lot of rounds on stage 2. She was very strong early game, to a point where you usually would hold items on a VEX 2 until you hit like a Heimer, right? You would just have items on VEX the whole game almost, because she was very reliable and very strong. They buffed the 3-star version of her. It seems kind of like a no-brainer that maybe this comp might work out. Now, of course, it also comes down to like other people playing more towards reroll, which I think this patch is going to have a little bit of that effect. So, you know, be warned. But basically, Irelia as well is really tanky, and Singe in some cases also very tanky, and he also has a really nice added effect where he can give extra attack speed to your backline unit. Rel's also really tanky and steals armor, so she has like a Shred Sunder effect to her as well. But basically, just roll for all of them. When you're playing around Irelia, sometimes it's good to like solo frontline her. This comp also works really well with Sorcerer reroll, by the way. If you want to remove some of the Visionary units, you can equivalently play Lux Zyra reroll from the same spot. There might be a video on that in the future. That's something I tried out. I think there was a PBE game on my channel where I showed you Lux Zyra reroll, but you can equivalently play something very similar around these units, and then you cap out the same way with Rebel and Alawi Irelia. But either way, VEX, I think you just want, like, if you're trying to make basic items, Shojin Nashor's +1. I think in the game that I'm playing, I make Archangels. She has a little bit of like an AoE effect when she attacks, but majority of her damage is going to be in this, like, this fire shot, like the first shot that she hits on the first unit. So she's very slow. I think that her auto attack speed is pretty slow, so that's why I really like to have Nashers. It really like boosts that effect. If you're playing around Renata 3, I think Renata 3, again, it's probably Shojin Nashor. It's just a really good item pairing. You're making really good use of components. Of course, it's really early in the patch, so I wouldn't really trust stats. I'm not looking at them myself. I look at them like a little bit, but like, wait for a couple days, because like, you know, until there's like some updates and people figuring out how to play stuff, don't just like say like what the bis is instantly. So that's why I'm just saying, roughly speaking, this is what I'm going for. And then Irelia, just want to make her Giga Tank items, right? If you're solo frontlining her, you can put Stone Plate. If you're not solo frontlining her, something like, you know, the best tank items that you can possibly make, right? And then utility somewhere along the line. I took No Scout, No Pivot. So the reason No Scout, No Pivot is really good with this comp is because I'm playing around Sentinels. No Scout, No Pivot, basically every turn, you basically cannot sell units that are on your board already. So No Scout, No Pivot, really you have to play a reroll line a lot of the time because you're stuck with the units that you put on your board. So right now, even if I wanted to, I cannot sell the VEX on my board. I am forced to always have that VEX on my board right now. Equivalently, if I level up, whatever unit I put in from leveling up is going to be stuck on the board. You see the lock symbol every single turn. If you try and sell, it's going to say can't sell. If you try and bench it, it's going to say can't bench it. You're stuck with those units on your board always. So what you get for that is that you get bonus AP, AD, and HP, right? So we can go here. I can go like where is it? Augments. I'll Google it just for you guys. No Scout, No Pivot. So you get 20 HP, 1.5 attack damage, 1.5 ability power, right? So the attack damage isn't that great. Obviously, we're not making use of it, but ability power is great. It makes all my units stronger, and a lot of units have scaling on ability power. And the 20 health is huge, right? The reason 20 health is huge is because a Sentinel, in this trait, it gives you a bunch of armor and MR. If you're asking yourself, what makes a really tanky unit? Armor and MR, in addition with HP and then some sort of like durability modifier or something like that. But typically, if you're thinking about a tank, how do you make a tank really tanky? You give them a bunch of HP and you give them a bunch of armor and MR. So Sentinel is already doing that for me, is already doing the armor part for me by giving them a bunch of armor and MR. So what do I need to make them giga tanky? A bunch of HP. How do I get a bunch of HP? I have an augment that will constantly scale them to be really high HP. So the thing with rerolls that happens a lot is if you play like a one cost reroll, for example, very late in the game, you have to try and quote unquote cap out your board. You have to make your board stronger in some way. If you're spending a lot of gold early game, typically you're going to be very strong in like the first couple of rounds, or stage 3, stage 4, you're going to be a lot stronger than some other people. But eventually, if they play higher cost units and they are a higher level and they just have more units on their board, sometimes your reroll board can be really overwhelmed. So you have to have some sort of way to cap out that board. No Scout, No Pivot is really good with the rerolls because it's basically in those later game fights, you're going to have scaled your units to a point where they're still relevant, right? If Vex's damage isn't on par with like a Malzahar, for example, at least I'm gaining AP for the entire duration of the game. By the time somebody has a Malzahar, my Vex is probably going to be doing just as much damage as the Malzahar because I'm going to be stacking up the AP. Same with the frontline unit. Irelia probably isn't as tanky as Alawi. However, if I have Irelia 3 and No Scout, No Pivot, she's been in the entirety of the game, by the time we get to like stage 4, stage 5, this Irelia is probably going to tank more than most people's Alawis. So here I'm basically just rolling. Whenever you're playing reroll, you never want to pre-level, right? You never want to pump EXP on stage 2. If you don't pump any EXP on stage 2, on 3-1 you will be level 4. Right, so as you can see, 3-1, I'm level 4. This is the last turn where I have decent odds for 1 cost. As you can see, it's a 55% chance at seeing a 1 cost in the shop. So I want to roll a good amount of gold here. Never drop below 30 gold. I'm going to make a reroll guide. It's going to come out soon. It's either going to come out tomorrow or the day after. But I think I might wait until, like, the day after. Like, it might come out only on Sunday. Maybe Monday, we'll see. Because I want to get a better feel of what good rerolls are. I'm trying to experiment and speedrun my way, going 8th every game, seeing what's good and what's bad, because I don't want to give you a guide and then you guys find out that I just trolled you guys and I said some shit that I didn't know if it was good or not. So yeah, but either way, when you're playing a one cost reroll, it's very normal that you send it, you stay above 30 gold, because if you watch the TFT econ guide, you want to make sure that you're above 30 gold, because it's really easy to transfer that 30 gold to rebuild your econ to make 50 gold, and then you're back to making a good amount of HP, a good amount of econ every single turn. Here, as my prismatic, I take Radiant Pandoras. The reason I took Radiant Pandoras is because I don't think I have good items, right? I'm playing a 1-cost reroll. I want to be really strong on stage 3. And if you looked at my items on the bench, I have cloak, glove, and bow. The problem with cloak, glove, bow, of course I can take another prismatic, something like bulky buddies, or something that's like really, really strong that gives me like extra combat power, right? It gives my units more AP, or it gives them more HP, or it gives them something that like makes them stronger. The problem is that because my items are so bad, I basically can't make use of those items until a really long time, right? Bow could eventually become Nashers. Glove could eventually become something like a Jewel Gauntlet. Cloak could eventually become a frontline item, but I'm never going to make any items out of those particular ones. So I took Prismatic Pandora's because it gives me a Radiant item, which hopefully is either a frontline or a backline item that I can make use of. And then I can rearrange those items to make the items that I want to make. Like right now I want to prioritize a frontline item because I basically just put double Shojin on the VEX, right? So the double Shojin isn't the greatest thing. It doesn't give her the best stats, but I got Radiant Shojin, so I'm not going to roll the Radiant Shojin into something else. It's good enough, right? Here, I'm looking for a frontline item. I'm just going to make Spark, right? It gives me some Shred, which reduces magic resist, which will make my VEX effectively do more damage. So I'm looking around. I double check my tanks, right? Last fight, Irelia did more, so Irelia's going to get the item. That's how I decided between Irelia and Sin. Guess what? Irelia did more. Irelia gets the item. I'm sorry. She's the one. She's the chosen child, you know? If you have a winning lane, you support the winning lane, you know? I don't play League. I don't know if that's true. You got, like, but whatever. I watch it sometimes. So, you know, Irelia gets the item, and here we're just going to rock it out. This stage, right? I didn't hit VEX 3. I'm going to rebuild my econ, right? Because I had to hold a couple Singes. I'm going to rebuild my econ a little bit more slowly. So we just want to be really careful. So once we get to 50 gold, then we're going to roll all our gold that's beyond 50 gold. It also works out that I'm playing a 1-cost reroll. There's this guy that's basically locked into playing family reroll. By this guy playing family reroll, he's thinning out the pool for me. He's buying a lot of the 1-costs. Or he's taking a lot of the 1-costs out of the pool. So it makes it easier for me to see my 1-cost because they're not the same ones that he's going for. So we're kind of helping each other hit, which is really, really nice. It makes it a lot easier for me to hit Singe 3, Irelia 3 in addition to the VEX 3. Now, of course, you could play this comp if you have a spot for Renata. There's Renata rerolls that work in a very, very similar way. I've been trying to figure out how to optimize it and stuff. I'm going to make a Renata video very, very soon, a similar VOD review like this, where I'll talk through the process. I've played it a bunch. I've gotten bot 4 a lot of times with Renata, and I went top 4 like one time, but I've just been forcing it from really obscure spots, like every time I have Chem Baron or stuff like that. So, you know, it's mostly for learning purposes that I've been playing this week, and then I'll start grinding really hard next week to make sure that I get my rank ups, because, you know, it would be nice if I can just, like, get to Master so I can start, like, practicing in a bit of a higher elo situation. Because at least this early in the set, like, Master level players are typically, like, you know, you end up being a lot higher. Like, this is, like, you know, pretty alright for me, at least. Here I hit a Rel. Rel's going to be my next in, so on level 6. Basically, I'm going to build up to play 6 Sentinel. I definitely think that it's better, if you have an opener, it's better to play more Sentinels, because a better frontline is typically the person who wins the fight on these early game rounds. Like earlier mid-game rounds, a lot of times the frontline is more important than your backline damage. Here I'm 3 Visionary, 2 Sentinel. So Rel is Visionary and Sentinel, so at least I get to 4 Visionary, so I can up my damage a little bit. 4 Sentinel is going to be a little bit awkward to hit, because you really want to play around Alawi, right? If you're looking at this board being complete on level 7, right? If you go the team builder, the Sentinels that you want to play is obviously the 1-cost, because it's really efficient to roll for it, Rel, and then the last one that you want to play is usually Alawi, but Alawi is really hard to hit. You kind of have to high roll into it or spend a lot of gold to find the Alawi on level 7 or level 8. Because I'm playing no scout, no pivot, I don't have the opportunity to play an intermediate Sentinel, right? If I wasn't no scout, no pivot, right now I would probably play 4 Sentinel, right? I would play Rel, and I would play another Sentinel unit, and I would drop the 2 backliners units. I have 4 Sentinel and VEX. That's if I wasn't no scout, no pivot. Because the benefit of having 4 Sentinel is a lot more than the extra damage you get from the Renata and Visionary and the Morgana. Those things don't really matter too much. It matters way more to have a really, really stable and strong front line, especially in early game rounds. The reason I can't do that is because I don't have all the sentinel units at the time. I didn't have all the sentinel units at the time, and because I'm no scout, no pivot, if I put a unit on the board, I cannot bench them. So I cannot commit to, for example, if I was playing without no scout, no pivot, I can't put a Leona and play this board, basically. This is probably a better mid-game board. I can't do this because if I play the Leona, I'm stuck with the Leona forever. And if I play the Leona, I'm stuck with her forever, then I won't be able to spike and play the other one cost that I want to play, like Morgana and the other units that I'm rolling for. So it makes an awkward situation a little bit. But the benefit of no scout, no pivot is really, really high for a comp like this, because you can cap really high, getting all the extra AP as well as the extra HP. So stage 3, relatively stable. Like I lost a lot of fights, right? I lost 4 in a row. But if you look at my HP, I'm not in the worst spot imaginable, which is okay. Obviously, like I said, a lot of my problems came from the fact that like this middle game rounds, I couldn't necessarily play around a better frontline. So here I have to decide what items to make and all of that. I hold on to a cloak because I want to make a declaw. Like I'm trying. Ideally, for Irelia, I would have loved to make Declaw Bramble. There is a mix of AD and AP in the lobby, so I just want to make her the best tank items I can. And I have Pandora, so I don't think I need to settle for other items. I am in a bit of dire straits, right? I'm 52 HP, but there's a lot of people that are 50 HP, right? I'm basically like, everybody's like in a 4-way tie in the bot 4, right? It's 55 HP, 52 HP, me with 52 HP, somebody else with 51 HP. So the lobby is very close. I just decided to make Crown Guard here. I don't want to greed for Bramble. I'd rather just start winning rounds. I have VEX 3, I have Irelia 3. I should be able to win most of these rounds. And then if I can start pushing levels, I can get in some better synergies. Maybe I can hit 4 Sentinel if I find a Lowy. There's a lot of options there. For me, there's a lot of options for me at least. I'm still holding on to these Singes, by the way, Singe and Renata. Basically with this comp, if you look at it, here I'll go like I'll punch it in again. I keep forgetting to say stuff, so excuse me. I'm pretty sure that you never really play 6 Visionary with this setup, by the way. I'm pretty sure you always just go for what's it called? 1, 2, 3, 4. Who am I missing? Oh, Renata. A lot of times when you're here, right, this is level 7. Typically in a game, especially late game, you can usually make it to level 9. If you're going for level 9, I think you have 2 options, right? One of them is that you play around a 6 cost if you see it. If you see a 6 cost, it's probably better to play a 6 cost. If you're going to level 9, the chances are it's much better to just play 6 Sentinel. A lot of times you don't play 6 Sentinel in some of these setups because Singed is kind of like eh. So it's like you don't really need a Singed. And some of the other units don't really do that much. I don't think it's Visionary because I think you should have enough damage if you 3-starred your backline units. If you don't think you have enough damage, then you can play Malzahar and Heimerdinger. But typically what you're going to do is you're going to play these units. You're going to play Leona or what's his name? Or Loris. And 6 Sentinel is just going to give you so much longevity that it's going to give your backline time to get a lot of casts off and get a lot of damage, right? Especially if you have like Renata 3-star, Vex 3-star, and a Morgana 3-star. All these units are going to do enough damage that you just want to stall long enough for them to like ramp up. So 6 Sentinel is typically a little bit better, I would say. I'm sure like in due time, that's probably what the meta is going to be. I wouldn't get baited to play 6 Visionary. It does give you a lot more mana, but it basically just gives you mana. So it helps you cast a little bit faster, but Vex isn't particularly fast at casting in my opinion, so I don't think it's that useful. I think it's better just to have a better front line, and it kind of synergizes with the board really well. Here, because I'm no scout, no pivot, I don't have many options, right? If I push a level, whatever unit I play, I'm kind of stuck with for the rest of the game. But what I would say is that you probably want to just stay level 7 until you feel like there's a reason to level up. There's no synergies that you're really looking for. You either can decide to roll for everybody 3-star and just make your board like giga doomed tanky, right? Like you could just like literally roll for all of them on level 7 and complete your board like this. And then if you happen across, because the shot bots don't change if you level up, if the game's late enough, you can happen across a 6-star, then you can just level for the 6-star. That would be my strategy with this comp, right? If you're in a spot where you hit a couple of them and you're winning and you think you can make it to level 9, then I would hold off on rolling. I wouldn't upgrade everybody. I'd upgrade so that you have at least one frontline tank, one backline damage dealer, and then I would just play towards the Sentinels. Those are like the 2 options. We'll see what ends up happening this game. Well, I know what happened, but, you know, I won't spoil it. But we'll see what I end up hitting this game, and that will indicate what I end up doing. But for the time being, I'm probably going to stay on level 7 for a while. I'm losing a couple rounds here, which isn't that great. My last augment, I just took another radiant item because I was thinking to myself, I have Pandora's anyway, so even if I see something I really don't like, I can just deal with it later. So I take the radiant stone plate for Irelia. I'm running into some problems with some of the other rerolls. I think the rounds that I lost, one person was like really high roll, really strong, and the other person was like the violet reroller. As the game goes on, my board will become stronger. That's basically how that works. So here, I just leveled to roll for a little bit. I'm just leveling to 7. The reason I'm leveling to 7 is I want a little bit of better odds because if I find an Alawi, my board will be really complete. The spike that I get from 4 Sentinel is going to be really big for me. But basically, all I was saying is that the rounds that I fought, right now my Irelia items is that I have a D-Claw, so I'm much better into an AP comp than I am into an AD comp. So for example, this guy, he's not going to kill this Irelia. There's no shot. This Silco with double Shojin, there's no way that I won't clear his board before he kills Irelia. So this is a really good matchup for me, right? So even though I lost 2 rounds, it looks like, oh man, this board looks like it really fucking sucks. It's like, no, it's more so like my items, right? I don't have the best items, and I took prismatic, what's it called? Prismatic Pandoras. So my prismatic augment is literally just dedicated to giving me good items. And in some of the matchups, I don't have a lot of armor. I just have a lot of MR. So the ones that need a lot of armor, it's a bad matchup for me. Which is by fault of my own. I didn't want to greed anymore, so I kind of slammed items a little bit early. So it's a little bit awkward. Here I'm just looking for choose a champion to evolve. This is the Anomaly round. I'm looking for something that gives VEX some more damage or gives Irelia some more tankiness. I hit Ultimate Hero. They nerfed this by a lot, by the way, and it's also very hard to hit. But it is probably the best thing I can hit. It's like, after 3 rounds, I get VEX 3, and I think it also counts the neutral round, so it's really only going to be 2 rounds. So after 2 rounds, I basically get VEX 4 from my VEX 3. Now I can just move around my items. So I'm going to move Spear of Shojin onto Renata. At this point, because I have to survive for another 2 rounds in order to get Ultimate Hero proc, I stopped greeting my last item on Pandora's. Fuck it, Renata gets a Gunblade. So here, this is what I was anticipating eventually, right? Eventually, I was hoping that once I have 3 items on Irelia and once I could start to greed for my components a little bit, my Vex had double Shojin for most of the game. I moved that off of her, right? She only needs 1 Shojin. The double Shojin, it just doesn't, even though it helps her to cast a little bit more, it doesn't give you enough stats to do actual damage. I'd rather have Nashor's Tooth there. So I was waiting to see if I can roll into a better item. So now is the time. Get rid of the Shojin, put it on Renata. Renata could be the secondary carry. I almost have Renata 3, and I'll just have Vex do a little bit more damage. This is an AD matchup. Now, I'm going to pause the video for a second. I need somebody to explain to me if they know about this. I don't know if I'm going to clip this and send it to in the Mortdog channel for bugs. Why is the Twitch having the Zyra true damage effect? Look at when Twitch attacks. Or not this, like, before this. Like, where is it? Is it this fight or is it another fight? Maybe it's another fight. Do you see, like, when Twitch is attacking, how there's, like, the chew mark things? Why is that happening? Isn't that the Zyra effect? Is it a bug or is it just the Warwick? Is that a Warwick thing? Like, do you see how when Twitch is attacking, I'm taking, like, those bite things? Is that not the Zyra experiment bonus? Am I crazy, or is it just a visual bug, or am I confused? Because that only happened with Zyra in the past. Am I crazy? Or do I just not know what's going on? Because I feel like I got scammed by this guy. I'm not going to lie. I feel like I was taking bonus damage for some reason. Like, I don't think that's the Twitch bonus damage. The Twitch bonus damage never looked like that. Unless they updated the kit and maybe it always looked like that. I'm dumb. Maybe I just didn't play enough Twitch. Am I crazy? Or is that a bug? I don't know. I'm going to research it more. Because I have to pay attention the next time I see a Twitch game. Because I don't just want to, like, be like, hey, is this a bug? Because last time I did that, everybody told me I was fucking stupid. And, you know, like, so that's why I'm asking you guys. If you know about it, if that's a normal thing, okay, cool. So I'm checking out. I was asking my stream. I was like, is that not the Zyra effect? Like, look at when he's attacking the enemies, right? Do you see how it's doing the bite thing? That's the Zyra thing, is it not? Or is that just a new effect? Is it because is that like Warwick's experiment bonus? Does he have Warwick on his board? Am I crazy? Like, am I crazy? Or is that valid? Anyways, one other thing to note, right? If you look at my board, I have 2 Rels on my board, right? The reason I have 2 Rels on my board is because I really need an Alawi. The RELs on my board are because I know that I'm gonna eventually upgrade REL, and because of no scout, no pivot, I can't bench the unit. So because I'm basically greeding for Alawi, right? I'm like, I can either play a subpar Sentinel or I can greed for Alawi. Alawi's really good because it gives Rebel to the VEX, and the VEX is the main unit that I want to play. And it additionally gives extra HP to the Irelia, and Irelia is the main tank that I'm playing. So Alawi is super, super important. This is the main difficult part, especially with no scout, no pivot when you're playing this board, is that until you find this Alawi, you're kind of in like dire straits. I hit a huge power spike this board now. I'm gonna make sure that I try and win every round that I can, so I'm just slamming another Shojin. Fuck it. Double Shojin Renata. She can help heal. She can help shield the front line or do her added effect of like when she passes through frontline units. I'm down. I should be very strong now, right? The Rebel Spike is huge. It gives a bunch of stats to Irelia and Vex. It also gives a bunch of HP to Irelia, which once again scales her with all the armor that she has. So that's good. We're in a good spot now. I don't expect to lose many rounds from this point forward. It was a bit stressful because there was a couple fights that didn't seem to go my way. So I'm not sure exactly how strong this comp is. I think that, you know, obviously having to take Pandora's definitely makes me on the weaker side of the lobby. Because Pandora's, I'm supposed to have perfect items. My items do not look perfect. But I'm in a spot where, like, you know, if I keep rolling my items, I'm 16 HP, I'm going to roll my items into a bot 4, right? I'd rather just slam items and play around that. I can also, if I hit Renata 3, I'll be really strong. I'm basically 3-starring everybody at this point. I don't see a point of leveling much beyond. This is what I was saying before. If you don't think you can make it to level 9, you can just roll to upgrade everybody. They're going to have a lot of HP, especially with no scout, no pivot, and they're going to have a lot of armor. Even without items, they're going to be pretty tanky. Look at that Singed. He was able to tank a Mordekaiser and then eventually make it through. It's very, very important. It's very, very important to note. This guy at Exodia, this was one of the guys I lost to before. Trenchcoat on Ambessa is very, very strong. However, I'm at the point now where not only has the game scaled long enough for me to have enough HP and AP to kill everything, I also hit Rebel and I also have 4 Sentinel. So I'm just significantly more tanky and my board is way more stable. So here I'm looking again. See, like, he has the Anomaly of mini-me's, so it's not like, so the Anomaly is the one that does that. He's experiment bonusing Mundo and the other guy, so I don't know. And guess what? We hit a Victor. So that's my next in, right? So now I hit Renata 3. If you look at my board is painted gold. I have Renata 3, Singe 3, Irelia 3, Vex 3, Renata 3, Morgana 3. It's like pure degeneracy rerolling. It is like, oh my god, it's like I haven't seen so many gold units on my board since like set 10 when you used to get them for free. Like, what the fuck? That's crazy. It's also gold sub, so I'm spending a lot of gold on the rolls. The benefit of rolling as well is that the shop odds for a 6 cost are fixed. So it doesn't matter if you're level 7, level 8, level 9. Only when you get to level 10 do you get an increase in the shop odds for 6 costs. So here I rolled a bunch and eventually I hit a Victor, right? I've been rolling for a while. It's quite statistically sound. Like, you know, they made it sound like you're never going to hit 6 costs in any of your games. And it's going to be like really, really hard to hit. I guarantee you in every single one of my games, there has been multiple 6 costs. This shit is not hard to hit. Over time, the amount of rolling that you do to stabilize your board and to push levels, and after pushing levels and to upgrade your 4 cost and or reroll boards, yeah, you hit that shit. Trust me. It is not as unlikely as you see. Because a lot of times, like, when you look at the shop odds are worse because they're not units. It's not like any unit, right? Like, for example, like right now on level 7, there's a 1% chance of hitting a 5 cost, right? The reason those odds feel horrible is because most of the time, it's not going to be the 5 cost that you want. That's why it feels worse, right? The odds of hitting any 5 cost, like any of all of the 5 costs, is pretty good on level 7 too. If you're playing reroll, I'm sure I rolled past a 5 cost at one point. Even in this game alone, I'm sure if you go back, there was a 5 cost in my shop. It's just that it wasn't one that I can easily play on my board, so it's not something that I cared about. The problem with 6 costs is that they're all supposed to be these giga broken. Everybody plays them no matter what. So if you see any of them, it changes things, right? That's like a huge buff to the, like, that doesn't, it makes it so that, like, it's against your intuition a little bit, right? Because I had a chatter, which I might bring up after. I'll ask him if I can, use some of his numbers that he crunched in a later video that I talk about 6 cost, because I have a lot of things to say about 6 cost, trust me. He did the math, and it was like, if you spend like, I think it's like you have like a 50-50 chance if you spend around like 100 gold. It's like you start to get into the territory of like, this is, you get into the likely that you're like quote unquote likely to hit a 6 cost if you spend around 100 gold. And that sounds like a lot, but it's not that much really, because a lot of times you're doing like a 50 gold roll down, and then you do another 50 gold roll down. That's like 2 50 gold roll downs. It's like, yes, it's like, okay, it's like not like the most statistical thing, but that's like an average case. So like in a lot of games, there's gonna be at least a couple people that high roll. This shit's in every single game. I've not had a single game where it's not happening. Also, maybe the Twitch thing is because it's 7 experiment. Was this guy 7 experiment? I still don't understand why the Twitch. Look, you see how the effect is gone now? This is what confuses me. Like, there was no Zyra on his board. Am I crazy? Or was there a Zyra on his board the whole time? Can somebody tell me? If there was a Zyra on his board, I want somebody to like circle it and post the picture on my Discord. Because look, I fought this guy now. Like, I know it's cloned, so like maybe that's why it's bugged. So maybe it's like, maybe that's like a normal effect, but because it's cloned, you don't see it anymore. But like look, it was fine now. I don't get it. I'm confused. I'm mucho confuso. Because the true damage is what strictly counters my board, because like I have sentinels, right? So true damage is like giga broken against what I'm playing. So it's like, what? I'm not sure what's going on. Anyways, we kind of sailed our way. Once we hit our board, we cut it really close, right? Obviously, like, we're 16 HP, but now we're pretty much unbeatable. We also got the Victor. Victor does a stun for the whole board. He's kind of fucking good. Like, he's kind of good. I think he's broken. I'm not making Victor items, by the way, and a lot of it is because I just don't understand how. Like, I think you just give him damage amp and AP, but like, I have no fucking clue what the best items are for this unit. But he no matter what, he's gonna give a stun to the whole board. So I'm kind of down to just put a stun on the whole board. So here I'm looking at my items. It's like I can maybe make like a Nashor's for Renata and maybe upper damage by a lot. Shoji Nashor's really will upper damage. But I have all these 3-star frontline units, so I'm down to just build a second tank. So I'm putting items on Rel here. So I just took another Rel item, and I'm kind of down to chill with just having a really strong frontline. So here's the Victor. Boom, Victor. Raise everybody up. And we're good to go. A nice little, what's it called? A nice little stun for the whole board. We clear this guy right now. That's really great. He's level 9. He's greeting. He's 50 gold. So we're going to see what he ends up doing with that gold in order to convert his board. This guy got hit 5 family at one point. So he's welcome to the playground 5 family. And he's also golden 8 cash out, which is really interesting. The other guy went to level 10, so he's rolling on 10 odds now. So we'll come back to that board later and see what ends up happening. But here, I just want to be on the opposite side of the Violet. I just want to make sure I don't get wrapped. So I'm just going to clump a little bit on that side. I'm going to put some bait for Violet. As you can see, I'm putting like the Alawi and the Rel. The Rel's a little bit off to the side. Just to make sure that the Violet doesn't like get a full wrap. I want to just like kind of condense them around that one unit. That should tank for a little bit. Especially with the Protector's Vow. It's going to gain a health shield. It's going to live for a little bit longer. Then we have the stun with Victor. This guy has a lot of QSS's, so it's a little bit scary. However, I should have enough damage. I also upgraded eventually to 4-star VEX, excuse me, because of my what's it called? The Anomaly that I got, which is definitely a little high roll. I think VEX 3 would lose this, like 5 family, without the extra damage I get from being 4-star. That was definitely the high roll that made me go second here, but I still think it would have been a guaranteed top 4 even without like the best Anomaly. Also, you can also look at this rounds, right? It's 6-3. The longer this game goes on, the better it is for me, because I basically get no scout, no pivot value. And right now I'm debating, right? I'm looking at this guy. He's 40 HP. I don't know if I can take a loss here, because if I lose by too many units, I definitely just die, right? So what I'm going to do is I just instantly level, and I'm going to play one emissary unit. I saw the Mbessa in my shop, so I'm like, okay, Mbessa, she gives extra armor to the whole board. I'm not playing Mbessa because she's like Giga Broken or for Conquer or anything like that. It's like, you know what? Mbessa, she gives a little bit of extra armor, a little bit extra tankiness. I'm down. Like, it is what it is. We'll see. This guy went to level 10. He has a little bit more synergies on his board. He is very strong, right? If you look at it, I noticed this only after I VOD reviewed it a little bit on the stream after I beat it. I don't know why these fights look so much worse, because I just cleared this guy really easily and then he just went to level 10. I didn't understand what went on. I think what's happening these fights is that his anomaly, which I didn't know at the time, I couldn't figure it out. His anomaly is that he has the Scuttle Crab summon off of the Alawi. So when I'm wasting so much time with my Vex attacking the Alawi, because early game my Vex doesn't have like insane damage. Here I can't take a 6 cost, by the way. You could play 2 6 costs with this comp as well, because instead of 2 extra sentinels, you just play 2 6 costs. No scout, no pivot. So because I leveled last turn to try and like make sure I didn't die, it's too late for me. You know what I mean? It's like all I can do is leave in the Mbessa. No scout, no pivot, right? I could have waited a turn and maybe get a 6 cost off of Carousel. I didn't really consider it at the time. Here I'm just going for some cheese maybe. There's some Renata tech, which I think is just bait, by the way. I think it works very situationally. I have a game where I did it for most of the game and it kind of worked out. You put a bunch of units around Renata, then she has the effect that when her ability passes through the units, it like helps out and shit. So it has good synergy. So you clump all the units around her, and then she just like literally like blasts everybody in the face with her Glock, going through each individual unit, and then she gets a lot of shield value if you have like 6 sentinel. Like if you have a really strong front line that just lives forever, she kind of helps sustain them to live forever, and you get a bunch of damage. Here it didn't work. Obviously this guy hit Jinx too, so I already had trouble beating his board, so now I just had even more trouble beating his board. Basically the idea is that in some of those fights, like especially the last fight where he didn't have Jinx 2 and he was still not as strong as he was, there was a good chance that I could have gotten a first tier. There's a really low chance I would have gone first, because it's just like I don't have a prismatic level of combat. Like my prismatic is Pandora's, right? I say that a lot. You lose a lot of value. It's not like something that's giving me a bunch of HP or giving me a bunch of AP or giving me some sort of power spike. It's something that's just like, hey, this is to help you hit your items. It's kind of like to get you out of a bad spot more than it is to give you like a certain amount of power, right? The Scuttle Crab thing, what happened is, because the Vex doesn't do as much damage early in the fight with the Archangels, I think there was like a couple fights where if I put my Vex on like an opposite side of the Alawi, for example, I would end up killing more units, and then by the time I got to the Alawi, the Scuttle wouldn't be as much of an issue to chew through, because the Vex Archangels would scale up enough. And that might have been a little bit better of a strategy, but either way, it ends up being a second. I hope that was enjoyable. I hope that was informative. I know it's a bit different than if you're watching just the guides. It might be a little bit more boring even, but hopefully me talking through my thought process, saying what I did, helps you to learn a little bit, or helps you to improve at your own games, or, you know, criticize me, whatever. There's gonna be guides tomorrow and the day after. I'm just trying to decide the order that I release guides. I'm gonna try and do a guide every other day, so it's probably gonna be VOD review guide, VOD review guide, VOD review guide. So if you're a guide person, don't get scared. There will be a guide tomorrow. It's either going to be about items or it's going to be about reroll. And then maybe on Sunday or Monday, it's going to be the other guide, whichever one I don't do tomorrow. And I'm going to try and keep that up as long as I can. If I run out of things to talk about guides for, make sure to also comment if you have a guide in mind. Like if there's something you don't understand about the game of TFT, like fundamentally, like fundamentals wise. You can ask. You'd say, hey, a guide on this would be really cool, right? I'm going to make an Orn Artifact guide in a little bit, right? That's going to come probably sometime next week, because I just want the patch to exist a little bit longer so that the stats are a little bit better, so I can give you more of an informed take, right? Item slammings and those type of things, I usually do them a little bit later, because I don't want to bait everybody. I don't want to say, hey, do this, you'll instant win, and do like a clickbait thumbnail. That's not my style. I'm trying to actually, like, you know, not do that. So that's why I'm going to wait to do those type of guides that are like more focused on like, this is how you do this to optimize. Anyways, I'll stop blabbering. I'll let you guys go. See ya. Have a great day. Bye-bye.